Hi guys, today we're going to be testing out the Mini Breaker palette by Jeffree Star. I've already made a video with the large palette, so I will pop that up in the corner if you want to check that out, but here is what the big palette looks like. I love this palette so far. I think it's beautiful. I will say though, if you can look up close to my lids here, my lids are stained like a... yeah, I don't want to say the word, but you know what I mean. Like, it is bad. Like, I even try to cover it up with my primer. I never usually do that until I'm like right before I start putting shadows on my eyes because I want my primer to be tacky, but I needed to cover it up. My whole lid was just pink. So the shadow that really stained me was the Bite Me shade in the large palette, which also happens to be a duplicate in the small palette. So there's also another one in here that is also a duplicate. I probably should have taken this out of the packaging. But anyway, here's the packaging. So this is green, and then when you take the palette out, the actual palette is white. So I kind of wish that this palette was this color, but you know, I didn't design this, so that wasn't my choice. But I do wish that it was green because I really like that green neon shade. So here's what the Mini Breaker palette looks like. Like I said, this shade right here is actually a duplicate in the big palette as well as Bubblegum. So these two shadows right here are in both palettes, which I wish they weren't because I feel like a lot of people are going to end up buying both, and so it kind of sucks to have two shades that are the same. So I don't know, I wish you would have done that a little bit differently. I don't know how, but I do wish that, you know, they weren't the same shades. So I think we should just start off by swatching this palette. So I'm just going to swatch from left to right, top to bottom, like I always do. And then I'll come back, we can talk about the swatches, we can put some shadows on the eyes, I'll give you my thoughts on the palette and all that good stuff. So if you want to know more information about this palette, I will leave a link to the website down below so you can go check that out if you want to see the ingredients and all that stuff, because I didn't really go into that in my first impressions, which I'm sure you're all sick of hearing by now. So let's go ahead and swatch this palette. So I didn't really notice anything too crazy with these swatches. The only thing I can say is that I feel like this duochrome up here is going to be very sheer. It didn't really do much of anything, honestly. I mean, I guess it's like kind of blue and purple, but I really had to build it up and it seemed like it went on a little bit chunky. So I don't know how that is going to apply on the eyes, but let's find out. I'm going to just put a little bit more of my eyeshadow primer on here just to make sure that this is not like super dry so that it still has a little bit of tack. So this is my MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre that I always use to prime my eyes with. So you can see now that it does cover up all of this pink. It just needed an extra layer here. So since I've already tried two of the shadows in my first impression video, I'm going to try to not use those today. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do a halo eye. So I'm first going to start by taking Orange Crush. And I think I'm going to start by putting this into my crease, and then I'll probably deepen it up with Purple Punch. So I will say that there's a little bit of glitter specks in the Orange Crush. It looks like it's got a little bit of like gold glitter. I don't think that's really going to show up. I couldn't see anything when I swatched it, but when I look up close, there's definitely a little bit of gold in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by putting this into my crease now. And I'm going to be pretty heavy with this and just try to see how pigmented I'm able to get the shadow. And I'm also really curious to see how that matte purple is going to lay on top of this, because a lot of the time trying to layer purples on top of anything is just not the best idea. So if that happens to end up a little bit patchy, it's, you know, expected because I already know it might happen. So we're just gonna see, you know, it's nice to just test out and do different things and see how shadows lay on top of each other and how they blend and how they build and stuff like that. And so far the shadow is really beautiful. I think this is a very unique shade of orange. It's more like a coral, but in the pan it looks orange. It's really, really pretty. So I'm going to pull the shadow up pretty high here since I am going to do a halo eye. And I'm also going to keep my shape pretty round. I do have to dip into the palette quite a few times to get the pigment that I want, but I don't really mind that as long as the shadow does build, which this one seems to do. I'm also going to go ahead and bring the shadow down to my lower lash line. And I'm going to be pretty heavy-handed with this and really smoke this out. And actually the mirror in this palette is really nice too. I don't know why I picked up the palette to do my makeup instead of my actual mirror, but here we are. So I'm next going to dip into Purple Punch, which is the purple matte, and I'm going to use my Morphe E36 brush. And I'm gonna try to build up the inner and the outer corner of my eye here to create the halo effect. So I'm just really packing this on very heavily now, and then we'll see what happens when I go in and start blending, if this is going to stay on my eye or if it's going to decide to leave. I'm gonna blend a little bit right here. So far it's looking pretty good. It doesn't seem to be lifting off my eye at all, which does happen with a lot of purples, but I will say that the purple in the Alien palette is probably my favorite matte purple in my collection, so I'm not really surprised that he has a good purple in this. And I feel like I wish that this matte purple would be the duplicate in the other palette, because the other palette doesn't have a matte purple, and I would rather have a matte as a duplicate rather than a shimmer, I think. So I think I'm gonna leave it a bit like this. I think that is looking okay. I'm just gonna put a little bit more right here. And for the middle part of my eye here, I'm going to go in with the gold, which is called Slice. And I'm just going to plop that right in the middle here. Oh, that is a beautiful gold. I really like gold eyeshadow. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of golds and silvers, but I like both of them a lot. So I'm keeping this very focused. I'm going to bring it into my crease just ever so slightly here, and then just gently fade them into the sides. So I think that is actually it. That was super easy, and I really like how this looks. So I think for my inner corner, I'm actually not going to use the palette because there's not really a lighter inner corner shade in it. So I'm going to take my Smashbox Crystallized Highlighter. I love this thing. This is such a beautiful kind of peachy duochrome. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that just right in my inner corners. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my eyes. I really like how this is looking. I think this is a very summery kind of, you know, just fun look. So for my waterline, I'm gonna use Crybaby by Colourpop. This is a very kind of pastel-y lilac shade. And then I'm gonna do some liner mascara, put on a lipstick, and I will be right back and show you the completed look. So here is the completed look. I think this turned out really fun. I feel like it's bright but still wearable, if that makes sense. You know, you guys know I hate the term wearable. It's not even a thing, but I feel like some people might look at this and be like, oh, that's fun and colorful, but it's not so in your face that is intimidating. You know what I mean? I could be wrong. For lips, I used Christmas Cookie by Jeffree Star, which is one of my all-time favorite nudes, and then on top I actually ended up picking up another one of his glosses at the store when I was there, and this is Wet Peach. So this is what it looks like. I feel like this goes really nicely with the look, so I'm really happy with this. So that was my look with the Mini Jawbreaker palette. I'm probably going to do a 3 looks 1 palette with this coming up. It should be up probably before my 10 looks with the big Jawbreaker palette. That's going to be the plan anyway. So yeah, I don't really have much to say about this palette. I thought it performed really well, honestly. I don't really have anything, you know, to complain about. I am fully expecting this to stain my eyes, like, you know, really bad, but that's okay. I don't really mind that. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more videos like first impression videos and stuff like that, I will put some up on the screen for you so you can keep watching. If you're new to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next one.